Last week, there's a news report on KVLY TV, Channel 11 out of Fargo, entitled The Liquor Store Uproar in Detroit Lakes, in which their news department came down here to Detroit Lakes and talked with some local business people and the mayor about the city-owned liquor store. Now, of course, I'll say the Fargo-Moorhead media is probably about 6 months late to this game, but it's better to get a little attention out of them than none. Unfortunately, all the decisions have already been made. But the reason I wanted to refer to that article is because there was a couple quotes in there. One from Dawn Olson, who of course runs the Washington Square Mall here in Detroit Lakes, and she was quoted in that article on KVLY TV as saying, "There are people who are on the fence about the liquor store, but there are people who are strongly against it." Mayor Matt Brink was also quoted in that same report as saying, people that don't think the city should be in the liquor business, or there are people that don't think the city should be in the liquor business, it should be privatized. And there are definitely people of that opinion. But the comment that I took offense to from Mayor Matt Brink was another one that they played in that report, and that was, I think if there's opposition to it being the liquor store, it's because they haven't educated themselves on what the facts are. So let's talk about what the facts are with the liquor store. It is true, the liquor store does donate money to the local tax base to the sum of over $450,000 a year, if I'm remembering right off the top of my head. And this does lower the tax base on a home, roughly a $75,000 home by $25, $30, something along those lines. The KVLY report cited a $150,000 house would save about $65 a year on property taxes because of the liquor store. So if this liquor store is such a great saving grace, then educate me as to why property taxes continue to go up. 2007, 5.2%, 2008, 14.3%, 2009, 4.96%, 2010, 15.43%, 2011, 9.35%, and 2012, 6.5%. Those are just the tax levies for the city of Detroit Lakes. Now, I know the loss of local government aid is a big factor in that. And let's look at some of the other facts. The city of Detroit Lakes spent almost $1 million to get that land ready for redevelopment, where we're seeing the 2 strip malls built now. Not only that, educate me a little bit on how the city of Detroit Lakes then kicked a local business, Burger Time, which paid taxes on that piece of land there right off Highway 10 out of town so they could build their new liquor store. And of course, that new liquor store, city-owned, will not pay taxes. So let's look at that fact too. And what other facts am I missing? Am I missing the fact that I understand the liquor store does provide money to the city? Of course it does. But there are some that think it should provide more. It should do more to help ease the tax burden. It should do more to help maintain city workers, like the city letting go of most of its part-time park staff a couple years ago during budget-cutting situations. What about the red concrete and all the new redevelopment we're doing downtown? If it wasn't for the city liquor store, you're saying we wouldn't be able to do that? Maybe not, but I'm saying if we didn't have that liquor store money, maybe the city doesn't make all those decisions. It allows them to spend more. And the comment that we're not educated, to me, irks me a little bit. In other words, if you don't agree with what we're doing, you're just too stupid to understand what we're doing. That's essentially what I feel like the mayor was saying in those comments there. Also, it's worth noting that the liquor store does bring tons of money into the city. Everybody knows that. Special projects the mayor talked about too that the liquor fund allows. What about the 1% food and beverage tax that was passed? Wasn't that for special projects as well? Let's face it, the city wanted a new liquor store and that was it. They didn't care what anybody in town thought about it. They wanted it in a brand new location. They say it's going to increase sales. They're going to borrow $4 million to pay for it. And it's going to get done. As the KVLY report indicated, the decisions are already made. They're 6 months late to the party. Maybe we in Detroit Lakes, we're a year late to the party. This was discussed a long time ago and recently now is going to come to fruition. So it's too late to put the brakes on this right now. But just because I don't agree with the city moving the liquor store because I think you're trying to fix a problem that's not broken, doesn't mean I'm uneducated. And to say, hey, your taxes would be worse if we didn't have the liquor store, well, that's like saying, you know, you've got a problem with your hand, and instead of amputating just a few fingers, they could have taken your whole hand to fix the problem. I don't really see that as a correlation. What I see is the city doing whatever it wants to do despite what anybody in town thinks, and telling you just to live with it and just to deal with it because they know better. So I hope that all of us can get educated enough to accept this new liquor store because it's happening whether we want it or not.